Here in 2015, I met Francis at a cafe to talk about this idea of author-led publishing. And we had a very idealistic conversation about networks of small imprints supporting each other. He took me through all the steps of setting up his own imprint. And I came away from that thinking, yes, Blue Press is possible. So it's really fitting tonight that both imprints are launching new titles. We've got Mum and Stone and Who Do You Love? So I'm here from Blue Dog Press to say how delighted we are to have Who Do You Love as our third novel. There are flyers around for our first and second novel. Do pick one up. So Who Do You Love is both entertaining and actually very thoughtful and very moving. It's a love story, a meditation on the nature of love. It's also very witty. I think Francis has trodden a fine line between tragedy and comedy, which, you know, is really very entertaining. And he probes that central question, who do you love? So, Francis.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming along. It's really delightful to see so many friends and people who've helped me along the way. Just to say a little bit about the book, it actually came from working with Blake Morrison here, who has guided me through the writing of the book for my PhD in creative writing. And that was quite a seminal, life-changing thing for me. And Rosalind, who's also here, is my other supervisor, who helped me through trying to write about the processes of writing and how I can investigate the ways in which I write and bring that into the classroom where I was then placed no longer. now at Goldsmiths. So yeah, some people from my previous school saying I'd probably chickened out, but okay, there you go. So I'm going to read a short extract from the novel. It did start out as a piece of autobiographical writing and is very loosely based on some elements of my life, and I guess in a certain way slightly embarrassing when you think about that. But you know, I think Mark over there was saying it might be that's quite a good sales pitch, isn't it? So the bit I'm going to read is where it's about a man who gets sacked from his job in the contemporary sphere and learns that his a lover from his past has died, but he didn't know that she was dying, and this provokes a lot of memories from his time with her. And in particular, one of the most powerful memories is him going back, going to Northumberland where his grandparents lived, with her as a student. So he was a sort of 19-year-old student and she was slightly older, and staying with his grandparents. And the bit I'm going to read is the extract where he is being picked up by his grandparents. I suppose for me it's quite a moving scene because both my grandparents are dead now and it's loosely based on them, and of course the leader character is dead. So it's a kind of I hope also a positive thing as well. So I'll just start reading. Because I was bringing a girl with me, my grandparents met us at the station. The last time they'd done that was some years back when I was 13. Since then, I'd always made my own way by metro to their suburban house in Benton, just off the road that led to the coast. But today, my grandmother was hovering by the station cafe, looking around for us. My grandfather was tucked behind her, smoking his pipe, with a large dog lead in his hand. Granny, her white hair like a halo, waved when we emerged from the coach. Seeing that we were carrying quite a bit of luggage, she shouted in her piercing posh voice, "Cecil, fetch your trolley!" And we followed them to the car, an ancient rusted 2CV, where we sat in the back with their two Labradors, Sandy and Goldie. Elida talked to Goldie for a bit. Elida is the girlfriend, nuzzling her nose against the friendly dog. Then once we got going, Granny began to question Elida. No one escaped my grandmother's inquisitions. "Now tell me, what's your full name?" Elida Hilda Arnholm. That, I take it, is a Norwegian name. Yes. I noticed Elida didn't say that it was her husband's name. But tell me, why are you studying in England? I came to study music, but I've changed courses now. So you're a musician? Yes, I was. But why have you changed courses? I was sick of it. I wanted to learn about English literature. After all, I am in England. So you'll be doing the same English course as Nick? Yes, I suppose so. Granny fell silent. I could tell she was going to ask more and would undoubtedly find out about Elida's marriage. Uh-oh. Leaving the main road, we turned down a quaint, tree-lined street and reached 5 The Grove, a tall, semi-detached Edwardian house with a red garage, a yard and a hedge-fringed front garden. This was my grandparents' Newcastle home, where my father and his siblings had grown up. We didn't linger, because the plan was that we would drive straight up that night to Criston Bank, the ancient farmhouse which was my grandparents' second home. But since Elida was taking the boat from Newcastle, she decided to leave 2 of her bags in the Grove. She and I took a walk as Granny and Grandpa collected together 3 cats and put them in the basket for the journey. "Does your grandfather ever speak?" Elida asked as we wandered down the Grove and stood on the railway bridge by Black's, the newsagent. "No, not really. His head is full of maths. You'll see, he spends hours sitting on old chairs with cats lying on him, scribbling formulas, trying to work out the secrets of the universe. He's working on an all-encompassing model which ties together Einstein's theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. And your grandmother is left to look after everything." I fiddled with the zip of my jacket. There was a stab of consternation in Elida's voice. "Yes, I suppose so. But what about her interests other than the family? Does she have any?" And then I remembered something that I hadn't fully thought about before. My aunt, not my father or grandfather, had once told me that Granny was the first woman in Scotland to get a first-class degree in maths just at the beginning of the war in 1940. She was offered a job at Bletchley Park, you know, the place where they decoded the German secrets. Only the top mathematicians were asked to work there, my aunt told me. But she turned it down because she'd already promised to marry Grandpa by then. I remembered this comment as I looked at Elida's inquiring blue eyes and realised it was probably best not to tell Elida. So I said, "No, Granny, that the whole thing is the family." "So your grandmother is quite interested in knowing about everyone in it," Elida said, "particularly everyone connected with you. I sense she's very keen on you." "I suppose so. What about Arnholm? Do I tell her?" "That's her husband." I hesitated for a moment. "Yes, be honest with her. She can take it. My grandmother may be old-fashioned, but she's open-minded in a funny kind of fusty way." Elida and I returned to the house. We lay down in the garden, not touching, soaking up the sun as Granny and Grandpa got everything together for the expedition. They were taking 2 cars, both Citroens. Grandpa would take all the animals, the cats, the dogs and their appurtenances, and Elida and I would go with Granny. Eventually we set off in the evening. Granny urged both of us to sit in the back because she felt it was safer. She was not a happy driver, but concentrated solely on the road, only occasionally talking to us about all the accidents that happened at various junctures on the A1. She had an encyclopedic mind for bloody collisions. Elida and I didn't talk, but held hands in the gathering twilight, feeling the north enter our blood, the smoky fields, the serene rivers, the dark forests. Finally, we reached the old farmhouse at the end of a tiny potholed lane. It was a cloudy night, and not much was visible. Elida shivered when she entered the house. I could see that the sheer echoing size of it alarmed her. Granny and Grandpa busied themselves making the place habitable, switching on the water, putting provisions in the fridge and cupboards, while we ambled through the corridors and rooms of the house. "Nick, this place is huge," Elida said, her breath pluming by the garden door. "And cold, even in summer," I said. Unlocking the door, we stepped out into the lawn. The night had cleared and the moon peeped through some sailing clouds, illuminating 3 tall, skeletal beech trees, which stood on the top of a tumulus 2 fields away from the house. The overgrown lawn stretched wide and magnificent before us. We held hands, and Elida kissed me. It's incredible here, she said. I've never seen anything like it. A leader had seen my world, my secret Northumberland world, and she understood.